back.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center for news and politics this Tuesday in Providence. Not a dull moment. We were over listening to the Providence Board of Licenses this afternoon. A lot going on there. Came back into studio here to bring to you both national politics. Jennifer Lawless down at American University talking with us, about everything that's happened since this weekend, since Monday. Mueller, Manafort, Mike Flynn still in people's lips to see if anything might happen there. So stay tuned. We'll always check in with her to find out what's going on inside the Beltway. But we're going to go a little local here right now. I have around the corner the newly elected president of the Rhode Island Latino PAC, Joseph Molina Flynn. Welcome into the studio.
Hi, Kate.
I appreciate you taking the time to come in today.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you've got your president hat on now, metaphorically speaking. But they sent the release out. You're president of the Rhode Island Latino PAC. Talk with us. How did you come to this point?
So I'm an attorney. I practice in Rhode Island and Boston. I have been very involved with the Rhode Island Hispanic Bar Association. One of my mentors, Dione Garcia, kind of approached me and suggested to me that I become more involved within the PAC. And then when they were looking for new leadership, I stepped up, I offered my services, and I was elected just last Thursday.
So when did you get kind of a little bit of the political bug, would you say?
I've always had a little bit of a political inclination, right? I think the majority of lawyers would agree that something brought us to law school, and it's that sort of civic engagement and that desire to want to do something in the community that's positive. I practice immigration, and immigration is a very hot topic politically. So I've always been sort of on the fringe of that. And now with the race that's coming up next year and the importance of all of these local races, it just felt like the right time for me to become more involved.
So I took a look. The Rhode Island Latino PAC put out the list of the new elected office holders, quite a few. The PAC itself is quite large. You know, when people talk PACs, they generally think, money, money, fundraising. So talk with us a little bit about that. Talk about, how candidates are going to be identified, how the PAC plays into supporting them, and, how politically, because, as folks know, Latino politics isn't a homogeneous, group of folks. So there's different candidates, different platforms. Talk with us how you envision the coming year moving forward.
So first off, it's still very fresh. We were just elected last Thursday, and so we haven't done a lot of strategic planning just yet.
Okay, I'm putting you a little on the spot.
I can speak to the fact that there will be committees that will be formed, such as platform committees and nominations committees, and that is how we hope to identify the candidates in these races that will be very important next year. You did mention money. Money is obviously a goal. So two of the current board members of the newly elected board members are fund managers. One of them is a fund manager for the United Way, and the other one for the Boys and Girls Club. And so hopefully with their expertise, as well as some really good members on the committees, we'll be able to do some real fundraising and make our voice heard as Latinos. One of the biggest things for us is we want to make sure that like you said, it's not a homogenous group at all. We don't want to be talking about just one issue. While there are issues that are very important to Latinos, Latinos just want what everybody else wants. And we want candidates to start speaking to us honestly about what it is that they're going to do to promote the Latino community in Rhode Island.
And what do you see 18 shaping up to be? We've got everything from obviously local offices all the way up through the gubernatorial race. Do you expect, given the climate that we're in right now, do you see that folks will toss their hats in the ring and say, you know what, I do want to run for office, I do want to make a change, and I do need some support doing so?
I hope so. So one of the things, I'm Colombian, right? And one of the things that has been very motivating to me, particularly with becoming involved in the PAC, is the example that is being put forth by Mayor James Dioza of Central Falls, right? He's a young guy, vibrant, sort of has built this image of Central Falls as a comeback city in such a very short time. And I think when people see that you can make that big of a difference in the lives of the people that live within a city or within the state, I think they will be motivated that they too can make a difference if they step up to the plate, and that's what we're hoping to do. So we injected a lot of new blood into the PAC. and into the board. I think I'm the oldest person on the board, and I think that was partially intentional.
Age 30.
34. And so that's what we're hoping. We're hoping to energize, we're hoping to become a little bit more grassroots-ish and reach out to younger individuals and prepare them in the pipeline to either run for office, but also just to start caring about these issues and become more involved.
And when you approach folks, that fundraising component, which is so important, as we know, candidates are constantly on the phone. It takes up an inordinate amount of time when they run for office. But what about those folks who, want to support people? I mean, is that really, you go for the big kahunas and you go for the big fish. But is it a lot of that participation rate? We've seen it at the national level. We saw it with an Obama, just saying, hey, every little bit helps. And really, a lot of times, it's that participation because we know if you give, we know that you're vested, and we know that you'll likely turn out to vote. Is it really kind of casting a wide net and really approaching, again, both the people with the deep pockets and both with the people that, you urge just to give what they can?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the biggest things that the Latino community in Rhode Island has going for it right now is the vast number of people, right? And we're not just confined to certain sectors of the city. It's people are everywhere, and I definitely do believe that that is part of our mission. The board has been very vocal about the fact that we want to go out and reach as many people as possible and bring them into the political game. I think it's also important that, like you mentioned, presidential races are a thing, right? And in presidential years, everybody comes out to vote because they want to feel like they're doing their civic duty. But these off years are also extremely important, and I think the Latino community has been a little bit lax on that front. And we're hoping to get people to understand that these are actually the races that matter the most. Sure, the national races make a lot of noise, but when it comes to direct impact to our daily lives, it's these local races. Fortunately, we're not doing it alone. We do have 20 years of history behind us, and there are some great luminaries on the PAC membership, such as Secretary of State Corbea, Dr. Pablo Rodriguez, Victor Capellan, who's the superintendent of schools in Central Falls, Tomas Avila. Like, all of these people they have the influence to help us do what it is that we are hoping to do in the next race.
So you got elected president, you're a lawyer, but how much of your time is this going to be taking up with the PAC duties?
I am a lawyer, and a busy one at that, because I mentioned that I practice immigration, and it's been such a crazy year with that alone. But I definitely do plan on putting in some sweat equity into the PAC. I believe in the PAC's mission, but also I'm not going to be doing it alone, right? The board is 7 members. There are going to be committees that are going to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I don't believe in top-down authoritarianism. We've seen where that has gotten us. And so I'm hopeful that my role, although involved, will not require as much as what you're thinking, because I have some great people that are going to be assisting in that endeavor.
So, we've got the elections here. We've got statewide ones. We've got, Senator Whitehouse's seat, but the gubernatorial race and the mayor's race. What do you think? Let's start at the state level. What are going to be the big factors as Gina Raimondo seeks re-election?
I think the economy is going to be one of the biggest factors, and I'm speaking just on my personal capacity, as the PAC has not discussed any platforms or anything like that yet. But I do think the economy is going to be a big factor. I think while it's great that the governor has created some jobs in the state, I think people are still feeling a little bit of the pinch from the recession, and I think that might be where she may be able to gain some support, particularly when it comes to the Latino community, bringing it back. Latinos tend to work in lower wage jobs, and so it's those jobs that are going to matter the most, and not so much some of the CEO jobs and whatnot that are coming
Big
into
high ticket items that she
state.
touts.
It's fantastic for the local economy.
Don't get you wrong.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But I do think that people at all levels are concerned about the economy, and I think that's going to be a big
So
factor.
statewide, and you've maybe seen the numbers that go local. We polled with John Della Volpe up at Harvard, getting that sense of people in the benchmark poll in October 2017. Of course, things could change between here and there, but it was that, are you better off today than you were 3 years ago? Well, maybe staying the same or maybe getting worse was bigger than getting better. And at the city level, Mayor Elorza, we have heard from one challenger, Kobe Dennis. Talk with us about the city politics here in Providence and how Mayor Elorza has done so far, and how you see, even that race shaping up.
Again, speaking in my personal capacity, I think Mayor Elorza has done a pretty good job. I mean, I've had the opportunity to speak with him on various occasions. I've worked alongside him. We did a citizenship drive at City Hall earlier this year, which was very successful. But I do think there's still some work to be done, and I think he gets that. I don't want to speak for him, but I think he understands that there is some work to be done in the city. And again, it comes down to reaching out to the margins, right? You have to bring people in from the margins in order to help the climate in the city, right? I don't want to say too much because, again, I don't want people to confuse my personal opinion with the opinion of the PAC, and I understand that that's a very fine line that I have to walk.
Okay, so those are the big ticket races that we look at, but the local level and the seats where folks who might be considering getting their feet wet in politics. Is the money factor daunting for people when they say, maybe I'd think about running for office, but how do we even go about fundraising and can I even do it? I mean, how does it move from getting that the political bug to then filing the papers and getting in the race and having that sense of okay, well I can get the resources I need?
I think the money part is definitely very daunting, particularly for people with no political experience, because you're right, there are so many things that need to be done, and they need to be done accurately, and they need to be done on time. And I think that is daunting for people who may not know how to gather a team of people behind them. And that's also where the PAC could be helpful in identifying individuals to help in those races. So if you're out there and you're considering running and you think that you are sensitive to the issues of the PAC, you can certainly reach out to us, and we would be more than glad to make some recommendations. I'm not going to be the person doing that probably because there are other people with far longer lists of very well qualified people to do things like that. But if that is where the hesitation is coming from, then that's definitely something that the PAC could help with.
And what else should folks know about the Rhode Island Latino PAC? You had the press release come out this week, saw the whole new board. We're clearly fully on board going towards 2018. They look at campaign finance reports, they look at press releases coming out. Is it just as an indication of the strength and growth of the Latino community here in Rhode Island?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to make very clear that the Rhode Island Latino Political Action Committee is a nonpartisan committee. We will endorse candidates on both sides of the aisle, and what we really, really want to focus on in these upcoming elections is we want the electorate to understand the issues that are affecting the Latino community. We want them to understand that even though you can offer us a sound bite about immigration, that is not the only issue that is important to us. We want to do the work to make sure that our people are housed, that the economy is recovering, that children are being taken care of. It's sad to know how much poverty there is in this state and how many children go without breakfast every day. And I think we need to have the politicians step up and talk about those things with us in earnest and not just pay lip service by addressing the one issue that they think is going to get everybody on board.
Well, as we said, again, the Rhode Island Latino PAC represents a diverse amount of residents here in Rhode Island, looking again towards 2018. The newly elected president kind of put you on the spot, said, how much time is it going to take? This is a big undertaking. Do you feel the goal to exceed the amount raised in the last cycle?
We definitely do, and I think part of that is because of the fact that it's such an important race. We saw what happened last year at the national level, but also at the local level with some of the races, and we don't want that to happen again. And so we do feel a lot of pressure to raise some money and make some significant strides within the state. And we hope that if you're watching and you're interested in our mission, that you'll reach out to us and become a member and help us out, because we can use all the bodies we can get.
And what does it take to be a member? Can you volunteer? Do you ask for some specific amount for, to be involved with the PAC?
We do. So the membership fee is $35 currently. There is a very simple form that can be completed, and you can serve on any of the committees. And certainly, the next time that the board comes up for election in 2 years, if you feel compelled to take over my seat, you can do that too.
Justice says you can take his seat
in 2 years.
Not now.
But that's all it takes. It's just it's a very small donation of $35 and some energy to do some work.
And Joseph Molina Flynn, any relation to Mike? I had to ask.
My brother-in-law's name is Mike Flynn, but not that Mike Flynn.
How's that been going for him these days?
I think it's been going just fine. They will not confuse him for the other
I just had
Mike.
to ask. I did just get off the Skype with Jennifer Lawless down inside DC and everything that's happening there. But there's so much happening locally here. Fundraising is such a huge component. We're actually today as the Q3 filing deadline for the candidates. So it's really that integral part at this moment to see where candidates really stand, because they are in the throes. And
right.
as an Aaron Ruggenberg came out a couple days ago and said what he had raised. A lot of times they wait till that last, because the period ended September 30th, and they've got their time to get their ducks in order and put it in the bow and give it to the Board of Elections. But this is kind of really where the rubber meets the road.
Right. After all, it is just a numbers game, and in order to get the numbers, you need money. And so give us your dollars and your sweat equity, and we will hopefully make some noise in this upcoming race.
Do you want to ask for the firstborn, anything else? Your money, your sweat equity, and I'm sure political participation.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, so everything that's involved with the political process. The Rhode Island Latino PAC has a new board president, who I'm sure we'll be hearing from in the weeks and months to come as we are fully underway into 2018. Joseph Flynn, I appreciate you taking the time to come in today. I'll let you go around the corner, get on the phone, start making those calls. Joseph Molina Flynn, the newly elected president of the Rhode Island Latino PAC. Wanted to get him in studio here. Again, a very impressive list of a board that was just announced as they are a force, especially from a fundraising standpoint, for candidates both at the statewide level, the local levels, and again, those first-time candidates thinking of running, looking to fund those individuals. So I'm sure we'll hear more from him coming forward. But a lot going on today. Again, just was at the Board of Licenses. We'll have more on that in the penthouse as we've reported on here. And as always, it's great to get Jennifer Lawless down at American University, because with everything going on, we get some pulse on it up here, but she has got her finger on it down there as to what everyone's talking about. Mueller, Manafort, everything to House of Cards and Kevin Spacey. And the question with the new season coming out, with everything that's transpired, will folks be watching and talking about it? I think she raises a very good question, as she usually does. So appreciate you tuning in. We've got more coverage for you over on GoLocalProb.com. Be sure to tune in tomorrow at 3 o'clock for The Taste. Rick Simone will be on with the best of food and wine. I'll be back with a little bit of good stuff for you at the 4 o'clock hour. We'll preview that as well. So be sure to have yourselves a very happy and healthy and safe Halloween. Hope those Rhode Islanders without power are getting it returned as quickly as possible. But do, as always, wish everyone a great evening. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your feedback. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow here at the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm Go Local News Editor Keating. I'm Go Local News Editor Keating. I'm Go Local News Editor Keating. I'm Go Local News Editor